Hey you guys, I just wanted to take a quick opportunity to make a really basic, super intro social media 101 based on some of the info I learned from the Betty Bootcamp, which is from the salon Urban Betty, which is pretty fantastic. If you don't follow them on social media, please do. They have great tips and tricks of like everything I'm about to tell you. It's all going to make sense if you go look at Urban Betty's Instagram in particular. Now, this is a little bit more of an Instagram specific kind of how to, but you can use it, all this information very easily within Facebook or other forms of social media. But I just wanted to give you guys kind of the rundown of some of the key things for the most basic social media how to. Okay, so I'm going to start with the don'ts. Because we always want to end on a happy note, so we're going to end on the do's. But the things that are the don'ts that jumped out the most at me from their intro to social media, one that I actually was super guilty of for a very long time. It's have two separate Instagram accounts. Don't just do one. I've always been a proponent of, I guess, like all my pictures of my personal life and everything like that. They do, but having a separate hair account is going to be better in the long run. As well as you don't have to filter yourself as much, and you get a lot more out of it for your guests when it comes to content, and it separates things in your mind and also with messages and things like that. You can always link to your own personal one, but have two separate ones, okay? So pick a username that has something to do with hair, nails, whatever your profession may be within the industry, but have two. Keep it separate from your original personal Instagram account, which is something that, like I said, I'm super guilty of. So if you see randomly a new Instagram account that has like 0 followers, it's my new Instagram, and it's Hair by Mary Emma, because that's what I've always hashtagged. So anyway, let's create a separate account. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. Number 2, do not over filter. A lot of times we are all shown pictures from Pinterest and everything like that that are extremely over filtered, and so whenever you create a very in-depth, beautiful Instagram content of your own work, you don't want to filter it so much to the point where you can't recreate it. I know on these white blondes and everything like that, it's so tempting to just want to filter it up and make it literally look like a white blonde. Be realistic. You can do minimal filtering, but do not, in the long run, over filter, because that is not what your picture looked like. That is not what their hair looked like, etc. Just, it saves yourself some time whenever your own guests are showing you, oh, I love what you did on this person's hair, and so you don't want to say, oh well, I kind of filtered that. Just saves yourself some trouble. Number 3, don't over hashtag. Sorry, my dog is coughing over here. When you use hashtags, use ones that are pertinent to what you're using. We know a lot of the brands that we use and what their hashtags are, so that's always really good. We'll get more into depth on that, but don't just hashtag like hashtag love. Don't do that. Use like hashtag watercolor salon, hashtag hair by Mary Emma, hashtag L'Oreal Pro, things like that. Just kind of keep it to a minimal and don't use the most generic ones possible. Another one that I am also super guilty of is don't do side-by-side pics. For a long time, Instagram only had the option where you would only do one photo at a time. Now we can upload multiple. And so for a long time, that's when the side-by-side pictures became really awesome, was that you were able to show your before and after in one photo, and it made a lot of sense to the guests. However, now when you can upload multiple, you don't want that before on your feed whenever someone's looking at your actual page. You don't want that to be one of the things that pops up as a on your actual page. So always do 2 separate photos and don't necessarily combine them in the same one. I know like I said, I'm super guilty of this. But now that Instagram has that feature of doing 2 separate photos within the same post, don't do the side-by-side thing unless, within discretion. If there's a massive chop haircut, okay, maybe that one would actually be really cool side-by-side or something like that. But generally when you're doing before and after photos, make them 2 separate posts, or not 2 separate posts, but 2 separate pictures within the same post. And I know a lot of y'all are great about that. I was the one that was not super on board on that. So I'm learning a lot about this for myself, so don't take my Instagram as the end-all be-all when it comes to watercolor. So those are some of the major don'ts, okay? So let's look at some of the do's instead. When you create a separate account for your hair or your nails or whatever, make your bio on Instagram really clear and explain what you are, what your purpose is, and that it is a hair account. So you can always, you know, you want to link, do like at watercolor salon or at Brock's or both, or and also put the salon's hashtag, which would be hashtag watercolor salon. Just so that way, that's another clickable thing for them to see other people's works, and it just kind of connects the person looking at your profile a little bit more to the salon. So that way they have a lot more examples of that too, but it's just really good. It lets people know exactly what you are, where you work, a lot of questions just filled out instantly from that. Second, create your own hashtag. I've been using Hair by Mary Emma for a long time, strictly because, well, I have a unique name. I know some of y'all maybe have a more common name, and so it's a little bit harder to come up with something, but I encourage you all to explore different options, look on the hashtags that you might think of for yourself, and see what's already taken. You don't want to have something that someone else is already using. So it might mean retagging a whole bunch of your photos and editing old photos to put your new hashtag on it, just because, I mean, like, with examples of, like, Melissa and Heather, like, those are pretty common names in general. So, like, Hair by Melissa, there's probably 15 million people that are hairdressers named Melissa that they might be doing hashtag Hair by Melissa. So try to think of something that's unique to you, something that you really like to do, whether you throw in color or watercolor or things like that. Like, just get a little bit creative with it and search it before you start implementing it. But also put your own hashtag in your bio whenever you come up with one. A third thing is the pattern of your posts. I will be getting into a lot more detail on this in another video, kind of like a 201, if you will, on the social media stuff. But you don't want to have all your feed be pictures of hair. Also, really guilty of this myself. So, peppering in stuff about the salon, peppering in pictures of your station or a product that you're obsessed with currently, or something that just really resonated with you for just inspiration or something like that. I'll get into a formula that other people have come up with of how to pattern your posts, so that way it's not all just hair pictures. And like I said, I'm learning how to do all of this too, because if you look at my personal page, yes, you see a few peppered in like of my personal pictures, but a lot of the times they're just side-by-side pictures of before and after, and that's not great. So you want to have a variety, because you want people to be able to look at your Instagram account and be like, that's really cool, and have different things that they want to resonate with, comment on, whatever, and then trigger the algorithm so more people see your work. I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier about the separate before and after photos, but this gets a little bit more detailed. Whenever you do separate before and after pictures and don't combine them in an app like Moldiv or something like that, you always want to post your after picture as picture number 1, and your before picture as picture number 2. And I didn't really understand why that would be the case until they explained it to me, and it makes a whole lot of sense. Whatever you post as your picture number 1 is what the picture is on your actual Instagram. So if someone clicks on my page, all that they're going to see are the posts that were 1. You have to scroll to see the before. So what you want is you want people to be able to be like, wow, this is beautiful, from looking at your after photo. You don't want them to be filtered in with a bunch of ugly before pictures that where their hair's ratchet or whatever. Like, you don't want that to be on your page. You want them to find it, but you don't want it to be something if someone's just skimming your page and coming across that, if that makes sense. I think that was a really important one for me. So like I said, this is a little bit more Instagram specific rather than Facebook, because in Facebook, you might want to do things a little bit differently. We'll get to that at some point, but strictly for Instagram, since most of us are on Instagram a whole lot and whatnot, and it's what a lot of our guests are looking at for pictures and inspiration. So this is, like I said, mainly Instagram, but not completely specific. But on this particular bullet note of the put your after picture as picture number 1 and your before picture as number 2, okay? I know that gets a little bit confusing, but if you say it out loud and you think about it, that's why. Also, regarding that, since we're not doing them all in the same post, or in the same post but not the same picture, make sure that when you tag photos, because you can tag photos on Instagram, that you're tagging Watercolor Salon, and I encourage you to also tag Brock's, even if you don't necessarily go to Brock's all that often, or you don't work at Brock's. If you never work at Brock's, don't do it, I guess, but if you do go back and forth, tag both, even if it was taken at Ridgeland and not Jackson, or if it was in Jackson and not Ridgeland, tag both in your after photo of what you're proud of, because whenever someone clicks on Brock's Instagram account or Watercolor, like the overall salon's Instagram account, and you look at their tagged photos, that's what you want them to see. You want them to see all pictures of your beautiful work with your post and everything like that. So it's a good lookbook for someone who's just curious, who's new to the area, who's heard about Watercolor Salon. They're able to see, oh, not just what Watercolor's posted, but what other people have tagged Watercolor. So you always want it to be your after. And since we're not doing it in the same post, you don't have to do, make sure that the tag's on just the after side when it's a side-by-side shot. So anyway, those are just some really hot tips. If you have any questions about any of these, like I said, these were just like the first things that jumped out at me as some of the most important, but I definitely think it gives you a lot more structure of just things to do. I highly encourage you guys to follow me on Instagram with my new Instagram account, which is just Hair by Mary Emma, one word, and I'm trying to implement all this myself. So if it's pretty bare, it's because I'm trying to figure out how to do the pattern, which we'll get to at some point. But I hope this helps. If you need help creating a separate account or things like that, please let me know. I'm happy to help. I want to follow all of you guys, and I really want you guys to be using Instagram. It's hard for the salon to have pictures to post for the overall page whenever only the same people are tagging the salon, because that's also, with tagging the salon in the after photo, that's also how the salon, who, like, as we run our social media account, that's how they find the pictures to post, is looking at the things that are tagged watercolor and whatnot. So it makes it easier on the person who actually posts them for the watercolor page. So you'll get featured a lot more on there if you actually tag the shop in it. And they're also doing a really great job of, whenever they do reshare a post or something like that, or a picture, to tag you with your new hair account. Because I know a lot of us do have separate lives that we do want to post everything on, and I'm starting to see the error of my ways on that. But anyway, if you have any questions about this, please let me know. Don't forget to use our own hashtags, which are, Brock's Beauty Gift Apothecary. I know it's a mouthful, but it pops up once you type in Brock's Beauty. I think it pops up like at the very beginning of it, so you don't have to remember Brock's Beauty Gift Apothecary every single time. But also just hashtag Watercolor Salon and make sure it's spelled correctly and everything like that. Another one that we're starting to implement that I think is awesome is one that is kind of more of like a way to showcase, like, people that are potentially like in school and thinking about possibly working at Watercolor Salon. Instead of creating a separate social media account for all that, we're going to use our own. And the way that Todd or whoever is going to the schools and is going to be recruiting is, they're going to be using a new hashtag that you should add to a bunch of your photos of things that you're personally proud of, or like a fun work picture of, you and your coworkers or things like that. It's just hashtag We Are Watercolor Salon, all one word. So still use Watercolor Salon for like your work, but if anything is kind of like a behind the scenes type thing, or something that you're really proud of, like whenever we won like an award or things like that, things that we want to be able to show people that would be potentially interested in working at Watercolor, why they would want to work here, show the kind of like the braggy things. And it's such a minor hashtag that, like, it's not going to be distracting on the whole, like, limit your hashtags and stuff, and it still goes with Watercolor Salon, and it might actually get some of our guests to look at the hashtag We Are Watercolor Salon, and I think that would be really awesome, especially as we get involved with community service and all that good stuff. So anyway, I know this is my longest video that I've made so far, and I'm kind of rambling a little bit now, but I hope this helps with some basic stuff. Like I said, feel free to call me, text me, message me on group chat, anything like that, if I can help you in any way, because even though we're not at the salon right now, and we're getting paid to not be at the salon right now, we should be doing something that can help better the business. And this is something that you can do that does take a little bit of time. So now that we have the time, really look into it. And if that means looking at some blogs and this, that, and the other too, of different hair salons that you really like, or just you like their feed or their content, anything like that. Get inspiration from other people. Like I said, I'll be doing more videos with a little bit more in-depth of like how to do better posts and whatnot. But I would love to start seeing some of your own separate hair accounts. And for those of you that already have that as a separate hair account, please follow my new one, so that way I know to follow you back, because I get kind of lost in the hubbub of it all. But anyway, like I said, my new one is just Hair by Mary Emma. But if you already have a separate account, go ahead and hit follow. I'll find you, and then we can start boosting each other's posts up and everything like that whenever it comes to commenting, which we'll get to next. But keep me in the loop of things. Love you guys. Y'all are doing awesome. Can't wait to see what you guys end up posting, okay?